Good afternoon, everyone. We are Coder Center for Online Dispute Resolution, and we are guided by the principle of making dispute resolution fair, fast, and accessible. So I will jump into the meat of what we offer and how we do it, and also our learnings. So before that, who we are? So I'm Badri Vishal, and along with Vinay, we are the full-time founders of Coder, and we have collective experience of over several decades in building businesses, products in diverse areas like technology, finance, and also art. So we are ably supported by Vikas and Deepika, who are our dispute resolution consultants and policy consultants. Vikas has very rich experience in arbitration, especially international arbitration in very reputed institutions in London, New York, and Singapore. And Deepika heads the judicial reforms team at Vidhi Center for Legal Policy. And she is the one who ensures that whatever we build, we are building taking care of grassroots. And we are incubated at Algo Legal. So jumping to what we offer. So we offer a bouquet of services, right? So right from case registration to notice dispatch and appointment of arbitrators and mediators, case management. We train arbitrators as well, and also value-added services like transcription and stenography. I will dive into some details of each of these. And what is important to note here is all these services are very modular in nature, which means parties or anybody can avail the service individually and independently, and only pay for the service that they avail. So that's how our platform is also designed. So moving on, starting with case registrations, we have three ways a case can come on the Coder platform. One is a single case is registered by either filling a form or using a chatbot interface, or just call a helpline and you can register your case. This is considering the fact that some may be non-tech savvy or not having an internet connection as well. So they can also call and register a dispute. And the second one is bulk cases. So these large institutes who wants to register thousands of disputes at once, they give a templatized, simple Excel sheet populated with all the case information, and we take care of the rest. And the third one is if an arbitrator or parties want to bring their existing offline dispute on to Coder, we facilitate that as well. So they can avail all the technological benefits that Coder offers in their existing dispute. They need not go through the entire life cycle of dispute on Coder itself. All right. So next offering is the innovation that we have come up with through a lot of study. So this is dispatch and tracking of notices. So what we realized is close to 25% of the duration of a case goes in sending and tracking notices. So if the best case, if you consider, let's say the duration of the case is 2 years, 6 months is spent into actually sending tracking notices. So we are actually reducing that time to few minutes. And as you can see, there are multiple channels these notices can be sent, email, SMS, WhatsApp, and also physical courier. And we will have a dashboard which tracks each of these notices, whether they have reached, whether they have been read, so that it can also be used as an evidence during the case hearing. Moving on, appointment of neutrals. So we not only appoint arbitrators and mediators, we also train arbitrators. As we all know, so we have heard from others as well, the quality arbitrators in this country are so far and few. So we realized that, and we very carefully designed and created arbitration training in collaboration with Ministry of Commerce Chair, Government of India, and National Law School, Bangalore. And we have trained plenty of participants so far. And next in this journey is we are coming up with a completely online arbitration course, and over that it will be a stringently monitored course, after which they will be empaneled with some workshopping as well as accreditation, where we actually evaluate the awards that they submit. So essentially, we are not just an Uber of dispute resolution where we connect arbitrators to the parties. We are also like a driving school where we train arbitrators. We are also like an RTO who accredit and empanel arbitrators. And we are also traffic police because we constantly monitor how well they are doing and equip them to upskill. All right. So coming to the meat of what are the features of the platform. So our platform has virtual hearing rooms with, of course, video conference and chat facilities. So essential to say it here, because these how these are designed is like they're private, secure, and also seamless to operate. And one important thing to note here is the video conference facility offers the freedom of choice of which video conference application that the parties want to use. So we have a Coder native application as well as Zoom, WebEx, and Google Meet is something that we are building this week. Next week it will be ready. Coming to chat, we have multiple chat facilities ranging from text, video, and audio. So to cater to somebody who cannot actually type in something in English or any other language, they can just record their audio and then upload it there. And coming to value-added services, so not just ODR, alternate dispute resolution practice is also looking for plenty of services that we can offer through technology and online medium. Things like stenographers and transcription services. So we have created a panel of experienced stenographers whom the parties can access whenever they choose to. And also we have transcription facilities. So in fact, transcription is something that we started off our legal tech journey with. So luckily, when we built ODR, we could seamlessly integrate that transcription into our offering. So I will take a very quick 1 or 2 minutes to actually show our platform to you. Okay. This is a typical hearing room. So we have imagined a hearing room to be a massive chat window where all the parties participate, and they can also switch very seamlessly between a video conference and back. So here in an example hearing, you see that a stenographer has actually, so in this hearing, I will walk you through the journey of what you're seeing. At 1:40, we ended the hearing. At 1:45, the Vishwajit, the stenographer, has uploaded the final draft of the award of the recording. And the arbitrator soon after has uploaded the entire hearing, and which is embedded here, which we can access anytime any party with access to this hearing room can. And soon after that, the entire audio recording is also uploaded. Something that you can see here, the arbitrator and the case manager has the ability to add and remove participants. So the stenographer is removed by the arbitrator here. And soon after that, not just about half an hour from then, the case manager has uploaded the entire transcript of the hearing. So I'll just show you how the transcript looks like. This is just in the text format at the moment. So you can see
a quick 1 minute time check. Okay, please.
Got it. So you can see everything that's being said is recorded with good accuracy, or my name is also there with good accuracy. So we provide this service if the parties choose to avail only that. I will quickly get into these hearing rooms that we have created. There are, so I will close my video in the meantime. Yeah. So here you see Vinay and Vikas waiting for me. Vikas say hi so that they know it's in real time. Okay. So we three are conversing here, and now we move to a private caucus where it is already built to be accessed by myself and Vikas. Yeah. So if you can see, Vinay alone is waiting in that room, and I and Vikas came here, we accessed. And if I go back there, we seamlessly move from one room to the other as we do in a physical environment. Yeah, so we are back here. All three are visible. We can continue conversing. So that's a very glimpse of how our platform looks like and feels like as well. Coming to our learnings very quickly. So as many of them pointed out, clients come with very diverse needs. We don't have to just build end-to-end solution and expect that they will adopt it. And technology alone cannot solve the existing problems. We need to integrate with the existing systems. And one key point is companies are very skeptical of including the ODR clause in their contract. So that's something that we have learned over several discussions with the GCs. So we have found a way of circumvent this and then actually work around to build the solution so that we start giving them value. And then once they see value is once they start adopting, even if you offer the end-to-end online dispute resolution service. That's the approach we are taking. So give them what they need right now so that they start believing in this process, and then they will be very willing to come on board. That's the approach we are taking. So please follow us on LinkedIn, request for a demo. So please visit our website and request for a demo. We will get in touch with you and show the entire platform, and join us, collaborate with us. Please spread the word as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Badri. I think the most popular question on Slido, which I've actually been saving for the last, is there seem to be two emerging models right now. There is ODR SaaS product and an ODR marketplace. So do you think these two models complement each other, or are they competitors? And what role do do you see for people to play in both the models?
Hi, Keetana. Maybe I can answer that and Vishal can supplement. I don't think they're competing with each other at all. And I think that goes into the root of what we're offering. The modular nature of the services that CODR offers makes it possible for you to give the platform as a service, software as a service, while also integrate and offer the whole range of services. It is when you start making it an integral, inherent requirement of each other that you then stop being able to market it as separate pieces, which is something that is not necessary. And we've realized over the course of time that it's not even desirable. So it's certainly possible to offer both independently and together.
Fair enough. Just quickly checking at the new questions. This question sort of repeats. So I'm going to just ask you again is with a large amount of people who are not familiar and comfortable with tech. So how do you plan to reach out to them while you're servicing your product?
Now, see, that's absolutely a valid concern, but let's answer it in a couple of parts. First is ensuring that businesses on the one hand start embracing the technology, start believing that this is a valid process. So start with them and then make the process seamless enough and intuitive enough that people even with poor technological know-how are able to use it. And look at WhatsApp. If I have to communicate with my maid, maybe she doesn't know how to read English, maybe she doesn't know how to read Kannada, but if I send her on WhatsApp an audio recording, that's enough to communicate. And that's something the platform allows. It doesn't necessitate you knowing, for instance, typing or any of those things. You can very easily send an audio transcript, you can communicate via video, and that should hopefully bridge the gap. We are not making a claim that we will reach 100% of the masses tomorrow. It is a journey. We'll have to start a journey of 100 miles with a single step. But I think by making it more intuitive and user-friendly, we'll get there eventually.
Fair enough. So I know that we have a lot of students tuning in to watch the series and this particular webinar in specific. So what role do you see law students, law schools, universities play in the entire ODR journey? And in general, the broader question could be legal innovation, but let's bring it to the ODR journey specifically.
Sorry, there was a smirk or a smile on my face when you were asking that, because we actually were dealing with that very specific issue very recently. One of the things that we're recognizing is that legal profession, as we know it, is going to change. Lawyers are going to start needing to embrace technology more easily. And the kind of professions people were specializing in is going to change. For instance, students now need to start looking at lawyers as being advocates. Why not being arbitrators themselves as a career path? And that is where, in fact, one of our training components is focused on final year students and postgraduate students. Because if it's a simple enough dispute, you are a law graduate, understand what the law works. So why can't you be a resolution professional for those simple disputes, offer it at very, very nominal rates? And that's exactly where, and I think Sama, I see Akshata nodding her head also, because probably an approach they're adopting as well, because we see value in the tens of thousands of law students who are graduating every year, which can definitely add value to this ecosystem.
Fair enough. I have one last question that I'm going to ask, which is, in a completely online platform, how are you looking at e-signing and e-stamping to complete the entire, to close the loop on the dispute resolution process, right? So how are you resolving for that?
That's actually a good question. And thankfully for us, we don't need to solve it because there are people who have solved it. All we need to do is integrate. And that's, in fact, if you will see the philosophy of our model also, it is if there is someone who's done it better than you, acknowledge it and integrate it and adopt it rather than trying to build from the scratch. So for instance, a very good friend of mine who currently works with Legality, if people have heard of that, is already in that space of stamping and e-signing. So use those services to integrate it, but integrate only where necessary. Otherwise, try and see if you can do it on the platform. For instance, why do you need notarization of documents? You need notarization of documents because you need someone to physically verify if the person signing the document is actually the person who he is or she is in real life. Now, can that be achieved on an online platform? So think about alternatives that technology can offer. So while we're not strictly guided by can you physically ink sign on certain things, trying to use technological alternatives to achieve the same purpose is something we're also exploring on the side.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Sachin, any other question from your side?
Yeah, I think one question that comes to my mind, which has been coming up, is this whole enforcement issue. And maybe let's open this question up for a couple of responses. Maybe someone from CODR can take a shot, and then we can invite other startups as well. And we can wrap up with that. People keep saying, is enforcement an issue? What's your response to that, CODR and any other startup that wants to?
Yeah, I'll probably take that question and speak from experience. Online dispute resolution, particularly arbitration and also mediation, is nothing new or exceptional from a legal standpoint. People have been using alternative dispute or online dispute resolution in bits and pieces. What we are doing is just integrating into one seamless process. So to that sense, what has been historically happening is not very different from what it is going to happen on an online dispute resolution so far as the enforceability of concern. When I was doing a hearing in Singapore, I had an arbitrator joining in from London, from New York, from Sydney on video conferencing, and those awards of billions of dollars have been enforced, both in Indian courts and outside. So there's absolutely no reason why an online dispute resolution platform cannot work. So far as mediation is concerned, you can always use mediation with conciliation as the tag along and get the Arbitration Conciliation Act to kick for you and get that enforcement going for you.
That is as clear as it can be. I don't think we need to go further into that, and we are already past time.